Alrighty, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to The Penalty. My name is Trevor Cherney. Thank you so much for once again joining the show today. And just quickly before we begin today, I have a special announcement to make. It's not like a super massive special announcement, obviously. It's nothing major, but we do have a programming alert, though. So basically, for the first time in this show's history, we're going to have back-to-back episodes, back-to-back days. Yes, you have heard that right. You have heard that right. Yes. Okay. All right. So basically, the reason why is because obviously tonight is Monday Night Football, the Lions, Buccaneers. So obviously I can't really talk about. I mean, I can still talk about the game, obviously, but I really can't go the full extent of my thoughts and feelings on how the game went, all that, obviously, until it's been played. And obviously, it's not going to happen until later tonight on Monday Night Football. So, like I said, we'll have a show. So we'll have a show tomorrow. And that's going to be basically mainly going over the game and whatnot. So I don't expect to talk about really anything else tomorrow besides just Lions and Bucks. Maybe we'll talk about the other doubleheader that happened. Maybe we'll get other stuff as well tomorrow. So, which is kind of nice. So now I don't have to fish so much into this show. And we'll talk about Lions and Bucks today. But today's gonna be like a preview show, basically, almost. I'm not gonna preview the whole game, but I'll give you my thoughts and feelings going into tonight's game. And then we'll get on we'll move forward from that. So, let's do some house cleaning first, and then we'll get the Lions Bucks. Okay, so let's get into what happened over the weekend. And you know what? Here, how about this? I want to give a quick shout out to the Detroit Red Wings because, look, I told you, hey, let me see what they do the next 8 games. Okay, the next 6 games. If they can go on a winning streak and get hot, then I'm interested. Then you have my attention. Now, I'm not at the point where I'm like fully behind the team yet, right? And fully believe that this team can win. But this is a good start, right? You lose your first game of the year, right? In pretty embarrassing fashion. But then you win your next 4 or 5 in a row, which is very impressive. And obviously, all I want to see from this year is progress, because I don't want to have to fire another GM. I don't want to have to fire another. I don't want to have to fire Stevie Y. I mean, especially when he himself is a legend in this city, right? He's a legend in Detroit. Now, obviously, that still could happen, right? I mean, it's still a long season. They could easily just have a massive collapse like they did a couple of years ago. But so far, you know what? So far, they've actually been playing pretty good hockey. They've been playing some pretty decent opponents, too. So it's not like they have been just winning against, not so great teams, put it that way. Kind of like the Tigers in April and May, where the Tigers had the benefit of, while they were facing I don't want to say super easy schedule, but it was somewhat of an easy schedule, right, for the Tigers. And I don't know if that's the case here for the Wings, but, I mean, certainly it's not the most difficult schedule in the world. But, I mean, look, again, we'll see what happens later down the line, but so far, not too bad from the Wings. And you really have to give the coaching a lot of credit, the players a lot of credit, too. There's a few new guys on that team, too. So, look, this year for the Wings, as long as they're fun and as long as they can get into a playoff spot, okay, fine. You know what? At least I'm seeing progress at that point. So, those are the Red Wings. Just my general thoughts on the Wings right now and what they're doing. So, which again, they're doing some good things. So, which is good. All right, let's get this over with. Let's talk about Michigan State really quick. I have no emotions with this team anymore. I feel completely empty inside. Every time I talk about this team, every time I watch this team, I just feel emptiness coming from me. And you know, this team, I mean, look, I'm reminded of what the standard used to be in East Lansing. 15 years ago, we won the Big Ten, and that was a huge deal. 10 years ago, we not only won the Big Ten, but we also got into a playoff spot as well. Now, yes, we did get hammered by Alabama, but hey, we still made it to playoffs, which back then was a big deal because only 4 teams were able to get in the playoffs, and Michigan State was one of those 4 teams. So that was very exciting. And just ever since then, it's just been going downhill. I mean, Michigan State has been basically irrelevant now for almost a decade. They haven't won. I can't remember the last time they won a major game. And the fact that Jonathan Smith is still employed right now, a week before the Michigan game, right? So now if this guy does get canned after this Michigan game, I mean, what does it do? What does it do good here to have Jonathan Smith still employed? Okay, because now let's say they win against Michigan, okay, which I don't think is going to happen. By the way, let's make that very clear. I actually think they might get embarrassed by Michigan because wouldn't surprise me. But let's just say they have a win over Michigan somehow. They give Michigan the 3rd loss, and basically at that point, yeah, they're pretty much out of the playoff picture. What happens then? Does Jonathan Smith then keep his job because he had one decent win over I'm sorry, but just not a very good Michigan team? That, again, this was the same team that got pantsed by USC. They got absolutely pantsed. And oh boy, you have one win over Michigan, and they're like, oh yeah, with Jonathan Smith, he's the right guy. He's got to stay. No, he's got to go. And you know what? If they win this game, I will be more upset if they lose. There, I said it. If they win this game, I will be more upset than if they lose. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, this program is going nowhere with Jonathan Smith still at the helm, and it's better if he just goes. And how does he go? He loses. I hope he doesn't win another game for the rest of the season until he's officially gone and out of East Lansing, because that's what needs to happen. So my only hope is that they get absolutely trounced and embarrassed by this Michigan team, which, again, they're not, let's be honest here, they're not very good. They're okay at times, and sure, they can beat the bad teams, but when they face an actual opponent with a pulse, Oklahoma, USC, it's not even close. So let's not pretend like this is some great Michigan team, right? But either way, even though this is not a great Michigan team, I hope they lay down the beating of a century, because it's the only way that we can get Jonathan Smith fired. And the fact that he is still employed and the fact that he is still here just speaks of the program that they're running at Michigan State, which is just horrendous. Just horrendous. I wish I was excited for this rivalry. I really wish I was. I'm actually I'm actually going to the game. I've been invited to go. I don't know why I said yes, but I did. And this was before the season even started. And now I feel like I'm obligated. And now I feel like I'm obligated to go. So, Saturday is not going to be a fun day. And the only way it could get worse is if Michigan State somehow comes out with a win, and Jonathan Smith is still employed for another year. That's my reaction. That would be my reaction right there. Just the entire way home, my mouth wide open, just like this. You got to be kidding me. How? So let's hope that doesn't. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's just hope that Michigan State loses, and hopefully somewhere down the line, either next week or just sometime after the season, Jonathan Smith is toast. He's gone in East Lansing because honestly, at this point, he should. He should not have a job, and I don't know why he's still employed. Speaking of coaches that should be fired, I don't know what's worse, being a Giants fan or being a Dolphins fan. The Dolphins just were simply outclassed. And when you got outclassed by the checks notes, Cleveland Browns, that's what you know. That's a bad sign that you are not just a bad team, a really bad team. And the Giants yesterday, get this, in the fourth quarter alone, you know how many points they gave up in the fourth quarter alone? 33 points. The New York Football Giants, in one quarter of a football game, without a pick six or a special teams touchdown return, gave up 33 points in the fourth quarter that they were up and winning, by the way. It was 16-8 at one point. Like, the Giants were up, and they had a chance to win, and they just couldn't close it. I mean, Dolphins are just hopeless. Giants are just bad. You know? Okay. I mean, the Giants. Look, here's the thing about the Giants. They gotta fire Daboll. Daboll, he's been there far too long to have these kind of collapse. How do you not run the ball to run out the clock when there's still 5 minutes? Why are you still throwing the ball? Why are you not running the ball? Like, come on, come on. Brian Daboll is now a veteran head coach in this league. He should know better. He ought to should know better than to pull that kind of crap. Seriously. I mean, I couldn't believe it. Denver basically gift wrapped you that game. And then they come back and they win it. It's bad coaching like that should get you fired, right? Brian Daboll should be out of a job. Shane Bowen, who was the defensive coordinator for the Giants, should be out of a job today. What a despicable performance. I mean, come on. And I know Jackson Dart threw a bad pick. I know he did. But again, in that situation, you should not be even throwing the ball. Why are you running the ball? Come on. You got Scatterboo. And even if I don't think he's a great running back, he's still a hard runner. He'll still get you a couple of yards. I don't think he's great. But he's still fine. Like, he's still better than nothing. He's still an NFL running back at the end of the day. Even if I don't think Cam Scatterboo even if I don't think he's the next Saquon Barkley, that doesn't mean that he's not a good back, because he is. So why not run the clock out? Why do coaches? I don't see, one of the most frustrating parts about watching an NFL game is, these coaches and some of their time management are just terrible. They're just terrible with their time management skills. They're just terrible with running the clock down when you have the lead. Like, it's not rocket science. Like, if you have any decent time management skills, you should be okay. And a lot of these coaches just don't. And I don't get it. You know? And then back to the Dolphins. Look, the Dolphins are more hopeless than the Giants because at least with the Giants, the Giants, they have Jackson Dart, who is a potential franchise quarterback. I'm not going to give him that title because, well, he's still playing his first season in the league. And, second of all, it's still, even his first season, it's still a little early to tell, right? Give him a year or two, right? I always want to give young players who are first-round picks a year or two to truly develop into becoming NFL stars. Look what Drake May is doing right now in New England. He's developed. We're seeing him develop into a potential superstar. Even forget franchise quarterback. He. I think now we need to talk about Drake May as a superstar quarterback in this league. And that's just one example of, you always want to give quarterbacks time, right, to develop, especially if there's something there that you see. And there's something with Jackson Dart, and that's why I feel bad for Jackson Dart. I feel bad for Cam Scatterboo. I feel bad for their young players, because you really felt like they really wanted to. They had a chance to win this game, right? And now you win back-to-back games, right? Because they had last week they won against the Eagles. That was a big game for them. This week, now they're facing the Broncos. You had them dead to rights, and you let them escape with a win. Now I get it that a lot of Broncos legends were that they were basically celebrating the Super Bowl team of that era. They had, I know Peyton Manning was there. I know a few other Broncos legends were there too. But still, how do you let that happen? Like, even just aside from that, that should never happen as an NFL team. When you have a lead like that into the fourth quarter, I mean, that just speaks to how terrible you are and how terribly coached you are. Like, Brian Daboll should be out of a job because of that loss. I mean, seriously, how does a loss like that happen? If you're Brian Daboll, if you're Shane Bowen, like, how as an NFL team, how as an NFL coach, do you let the loss happen? I don't know. And that's why the Giants are just hopeless at this point, because they're still coached by Brian Daboll, Shane Bowen, and Joe Shane should be on the hot seat too. I don't care. Joe Shane should absolutely be on the hot seat. Yeah, it's just Miami and the Giants. Those were two losses that sort of piqued my interest. I guess the Cardinals' loss is interesting too, because another game they should have won, but they blew. I mean, but again, this is what keeps the good teams, from still being the good teams and the bad teams still being the bad teams at the end of the day. You are who you are, okay? Either you're a good team or you're a bad team. Because there was some hope for the Giants there for a second. And now that's all over because they blew this game in the most unimaginable way possible, which is basically the quota for the 2025 New York Football Giants. Alrighty, and now lastly, let's get to Lions Bucs, which obviously is later today. I don't know how to feel about this game because it's pretty evenly matched because of all the injuries on both sides for Lions and Bucs. Bucs, well, there could be Chris Godwin and Bucky Irving have already been ruled out. So we're still waiting to hear on Ibuka and Mike Evans, although I think Mike Evans probably will play. Not sure about Ibuka, though. He's more 50-50. I think that's on the injury front. I know they got more injuries too. Now, the good news for the Lions is they are getting Ali McNeil back for this game, so which is really, I mean, that's incredible for the defensive line. Look, Ali McNeil is a beast, and obviously he hasn't played in a year, so. But look, I think people will get reintroduced to Ali McNeil tonight. I hope he makes a couple of splash plays tonight, and he's a big factor on that defense. So, which I think is possible. I know it's his first game back, so maybe they're going to take a little slow, but he has been practicing for a few weeks at least. He's at least probably gotten up to speed. I'm not sure how many snaps he's going to get, but my guess is that he'll probably be majority on second and third downs, is my guess, for the defense. So, they're going to try to work him in, but not completely rush him in immediately. So, that's good to hear. Look, I mean, I'm not sure about the Lions defense. They're still missing. I mean, Teron is not going to play. Avonte Maddox is not going to play. They're still having a ton of injuries on that defense, which is always, I mean, especially when you're going up against Baker Mayfield, who is playing at an MVP level this season. And mind you, last week, at the end of the game last week, he didn't have anybody to throw to, and yet they still won that game. Like, Baker is awesome. Like, I have always been a Baker fan. And shame on Cleveland, by the way. Absolutely shame on Cleveland for letting Baker go to go get Deshaun Watson. Yeah. How did that work out for you? How did that work out for you, Cleveland? So, you know what? Whatever. It's okay. Baker honestly is in a way better place than Cleveland at this point. Who even wants to play for Cleveland? Come on. Let's be honest here. So I'm a bit of a Baker guy, a Baker fan, if you will. I've always been a fan of him. Even his days back in Cleveland, I actually really liked him. So, and I'm glad to see that he has found success with the Bucs. Even in the rotating doors of offensive coordinators he's had over at Tampa and really everywhere he's been. But even still, he has played at a consistent high level with the Bucs, and it's very impressive. And it's been great to see. It's been great to see the. I guess with the I don't know how you want to say it. Just with the reemergence of Baker Mayfield, right? I guess that's the best way to put it. The reemergence of him as an NFL, as one of the really good NFL starting quarterbacks. I'm not ready to say that he's like the elites of the elites, but he's very close. And if you want to say that, fine. I got no problem. I got no problem with people saying that Baker Mayfield is elite because honestly, he is playing at elite level. So really, you can't argue that. So enough gushing about Baker though. For the Lions, look, the offense, just like last week, probably will have to carry the load, which has how banged up that defense is still. So, as a Lions, you still want to, obviously control the clock. Try and limit the amount of time that Baker has the ball. I think if you can do that, Lions can win tonight. But honestly, this game's 50-50. I don't want to really choose. I don't want to really say who's going to win this game because, again, it's such a 50-50 game, especially with the amount of injuries for both teams. I could go either way. I could say the Bucs go to win or the Lions go to win. I could really go either way. So, yeah, it's one of those games. But either way, should be a great game tonight. Should be a great, fun, exciting. I'm really looking forward to watching this game. It's at Ford Field, Monday Night Football. Place is gonna be packed. It's gonna be loud. Like it's gonna be a really good football game. And I hope it's a good game for both teams. at the end of the day. Anyways, that is it for today's episode. We will be back tomorrow. Okay, so just remember, we will be back tomorrow for the Lions and Bucs reaction. My thoughts. Hopefully, we come in tomorrow on a Victory Tuesday and get the win there. So yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Please share as well. And I will see all of you next time. See you later.